What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. This is the post-match pint. We're going to cut to that video in a minute, but I just want to put this wee bit in beforehand to explain that we had some challenges filming today. Hamza wasn't there behind the camera today, so it's challenging at the best of times filming in Malones when it's absolutely packed. We had some audio problems with my mic, so you won't hear me throughout the course of this video. It's going to cut between Kenny and Callum and back and forth. There was also some colour issues because we were sitting on a red bench and the sun was coming in, and we were a bit overexposed at times as well. These are the challenges you encounter when there's no one behind the camera controlling things. So I've tried to salvage it. I've spent hours trying to edit it and fix it since I got home after the game. This is the best that I can do. There's still some good content in there with the boys reacting to the game, and it's obviously a big game, so I wanted to upload it in some form. Apologies for how it looks. I hope you still enjoy it. It'll be a bit shorter than usual as well. I think it's around 20 minutes in total, but it gives you a chance to get the boys' thoughts after the game today. Cheers.
Yeah, a very grim advert for the Scottish game, really. Traditionally, after a heavy schedule of European travel, you get a point at Ibrox. That's something you're pretty pleased about, but it didn't feel that way. It just felt like a missed opportunity. And I just think we set up too negative. And that's sort of centred around McGregor. McGregor's sitting just in front of the back line. And I would say it's as passive a performance as I've seen him, not just in a Celtic Rangers game, but in any game. I'm not really sure why, but he just seemed to, there was no bite, there was no aggression, there was no sort of leadership in terms of trying to get the play flown in front of him. And I think because of his passiveness, it meant Engels and Hatate were playing too deep as well. It was almost like we were just trying to protect our back line against a Rangers team that are in complete disarray. And what that meant for large swathes of the entire match is we couldn't get the ball forward. To the extent that we did get the ball forward, you're relying on a central midfielder playing out wide right because we've not signed anyone, and he was ineffective, as most of us felt he would be. And you're relying on someone playing on the left-hand side who's uncomfortable to take responsibility because he's been thrown into a cauldron in his very first game. He's only just landed in the country, and that's not a fair assessment of him, because I'm sure if he was here 6 weeks ago like he should have been, he'd have felt a lot more comfortable and played with a lot more freedom. And the most poisonous thing of the whole outing is we still don't have a striker. We sold our key striker 8 months ago. What? Get a game here today where we can put one hand on the title. That might just sound dramatic, but it's 9 points clear against a team in disarray. You've got to strangle that and do that, and we're playing without a striker. A team is only as good as its striker. Maeda had a nice hot patch last season up front, but that was luck. He's not a striker. We didn't sign him as a striker. That's not how we're reliant on him, and it's costing us big time. A striker, the biggest transfer fees in the world are for strikers for a reason, because sides are transformed by them. They're the ones at the pivot, they're the ones that convert amateur, average teams into superb teams, and we don't have it. Now, it seems that we boxed ourselves into a corner whereby we're now having some sort of desperate domino effect of actually selling strikers in the hope that we get them in, and it's leaving us incredibly vulnerable. But that was a big contributing factor to how inept we were today. And Brendan Rodgers, although he was clapping the fans at the end because we got a point, you could just see looking at him as a human being, he's disappointed with the whole thing. He himself, however, should not be absolved of criticism because of this. He's had a really appalling outing as a manager, I think, against Kairat. And today he set them up. He didn't galvanise them in any sort of way. Of course a team needs freshness. Of course a team relies on signings to galvanise them and get them going. But you're going to Ibrox. You're going to Ibrox to strangle the league title. That should fade away to some degree. And I think he set us up in 2 weeks away. And there's just a collective failing of everyone now, the players, the manager, the board, that's putting us in this position of failure. And we're just lucky that we're unopposed. And we are unopposed. If you look at Rangers today, they're diabolical. They've got nothing going for them in any position of the park. If we can control that midfield today against them at Ibrox, then there's something seriously wrong, and we didn't. So, a really frustrating outcome. If you just what positives were there, we've managed a game Defensively, in a league table position whereby it leaves us in a strong position, I thought Scales was good. Quite often with Malones, Scales, there was a lot of direct play from Rangers unexpectedly, and he handled it for us. So I thought defensively we can take some credit, maybe bar Kasper Schmeichel. But out with that, it's just a sense of disappointment, Paul.
Aye, so start of the game, I says to Kenny that I would take a draw. A draw would be a decent result. In normal terms, it usually is. But it almost feels a little bit like a defeat. And I say that because Celtic might have had most possession, but by God, it is boring football to watch. Am I correct in saying that's 300 minutes that Celtic haven't scored a goal in football? Over Kairat's 2 legs, extra time, and today. Sorry. But Livingston are still, I'm not benching myself to get up against a poor Livingston side. And any fan that wants to do that, it's just ludicrous of what they're thinking of. Rangers were there for the taking. There was banners outside saying get Martin out. Like they would have booed Martin coming out, and they probably would have cheered Brendan Rodgers coming out. That's how much they hate Russell Martin. And yet we were absolute powder puff, pathetic, slow. We made Rangers look like they've maybe just went out in penalties and we lost 6-0. Dilly-dallying with the ball. Darren says that the stats were like 148 passes between Schmeichel, Carter-Vickers, Scales. The rest of the team had a combined of 156. Simply not good enough. You're not going to Ibrox to win that game. We sat in today. And Brendan Rodgers, to me, is not an elite level manager. An elite level manager suffocates Rangers today. Really puts the foot on their neck and makes it misery. Russell Martin should be sacked by now. Rangers are the team walking away from this happier than Celtic are, in my opinion. Because Rangers were the one that came into this in turmoil and absolute disarray of their team as a shambles. And again, they didn't really do too much to Celtic today. They scored a goal that was offside, rightly called it was offside. But apart from that, it was 2 absolute awful teams trying to punch each other. Yet only one team's got 100 million in the bank and only one team apparently's got an elite level manager. But yet 2 of them were as bad as each other. So what does that say where Celtic are? Forget Rangers for a moment and how bad they are. Where are we as a football club? We're stale, we're stagnant, we're slow, we're ponderous, we're boring. I don't think that's over the top to say that. So people will say, oh, calm down, you've got a draw away to Ibrox. This isn't Rangers that made the Europa League final. This is Rangers that are absolute miles off it. And yet we came down to their level rather than us stepping to the level we know Rodgers can get this team to. And that's what I can't accept. I can't accept Brendan Rodgers sitting there today saying, yeah, but we don't have signings in, we don't have players. On Friday, Brendan Rodgers backed the board, saying that the board bleeds Celtic. Nobody bleeded Celtic today. 85th minute, Callum McGregor took his time, and I think it may have been Diamandi who stuffed the ball to go over on Bajrami, and we were in trouble. Every single time we go to Ibrox, we're in trouble. We never looked like winning the game today, ever. I think we had Hatate with a shot, 35, 40 yards. I think it was a cross and it went into Butland's arms. Kieran Tierney had an overhead kick of a swipe, went right into Butland. And apart from that, we did not test that back line. Any time that we tried to put the ball in behind, the boy Giga was struggling. He panicked. Butland came out to get it, and the 2 of them are arguing. And it's almost like, right, okay, that's it. Let's put them under pressure now. And they just did not want to feel that pressure. They didn't want it. Celtic reverted back to keeping the ball. How many times did Hatate go back the way? Engels back the way, Nygren back the way. So I'm frustrated that 2 bad teams today, but it almost felt like we could have got a result there and we just haven't managed to get it, and that's the most frustrating thing today.
Yeah, and I sense the whole thing is, I sense it's not just because one individual or 2 individuals have become a bit demotivated. I mean, Brendan Rodgers said right at the start of this transfer window that approaching 3 years in charge of the club, unless there's some change, things can become a bit stale. I think it's affecting things on the park itself. If you look at the game, if you ignore the game today, look at the game during the week. Stalwarts for this club, Callum McGregor, Carter Vickers, misplacing simple passes, playing at a level way inferior to they did in the past. It's because there's a staleness. And that needs to refresh itself, and it needs to refresh itself quickly. Today, we're just not getting... Offensively, we're just killing ourselves. There's nothing happening in an offensive sense that's inventive. There's nothing happening in an offensive sense that's fresh and new and is driving us forward, that's going to break down a poor Rangers side. And all of that's going to come, it should come from within. I wonder if we're maybe keeping hold of some high-value players a bit too long. There's an argument to say that Maeda, who was superb last season, we maybe should have been a bit more preemptive and thought, right, his value's at his peak. He's someone who has had a great last season, been a little bit mixed with his output before that. Let's cash in, let's take the money from him, let's spread it, and let's do something proactive. We just don't do that. We just accept what's in front of us. And at the moment, I think it's playing out in a way that feels... It's a symptom of the fact that we're not being reactive. And unless there's some serious investment in now, 24 hours, 36 hours time, we might be faced with a bit of a serious problem. So I think there's just the malaise around the whole club, and now I think is actually affecting the park. It shouldn't be, but I think it's just affecting everything in a way that as soon as that transfer window shuts, we'll maybe have a bit more clarity, good or bad, and we can kick on. But we've played this game at a point in time where things are just uncomfortable for everyone.
It's not good enough. Honestly, it's not good enough. It really, really frustrates me that Celtic are in this position. So I remember back in June, we got to June and everybody's like, right, are we going to get signings? Who's going to leave? Who's going to come? Then it gets to July, then you get to pre-season, then you get to your first game of the season, second, then the third, then the fourth. This club have nowhere to turn to. Tomorrow night at 11 o'clock is the cut-off point, and I actually take a bit of enjoyment knowing that they're struggling behind closed doors. I actually enjoy that because I've struggled all summer to see where Celtic are progressing. Celtic aren't progressing, they're regressing. That's a fact. Kuhn was allowed to walk out the door, but hold on a minute, Ida's not allowed, called back, but then he's not in the squads. Club's a mess. And the only reason Celtic got a point today is because across the road, they're even in a fucking worse west than us. Simple as that. But that's not a barometer of where we should be. How bad are Rangers? Rangers are terrible, right? We're just awful. How is that acceptable? How can we accept that? So that's why I'm fuming that we've not been able to get a result today. But this is stemming from the June. For Aberdeen in the cup final, we knew what our issues were. For Bayern Munich, we knew where we had to strengthen. And the club have sat on their arse and not done anything about it. They've waited. Rangers go and get Bojan Miłoski, he starts today. They go and get a new boy favourite, £8 million. We're dilly-dallying over £2 million. Can we get Dolberg, 8 or 10 million? I'm not shocked if we don't get him. I wouldn't be. And he does in our game away to Kilmarnock after an international break. It's not acceptable. I know what you say, he does gone. On Friday he was having a medical, signing his paperwork, and he does back. So tell me that he does gone. He's not. Right now he's not gone, and that's not acceptable. The board are just as much to blame. But then Rodgers comes out and again on Friday he says, the board bleeds Celtic and we're doing things behind closed doors. It's not acceptable. The result today is an indictment of where Celtic are as a club, because Rangers, I don't like swearing, Rangers are fucking shite. They're rank rotten. I get 2 goals. What's the stat? Like 140 or 50 shots they've conceded in like 6-7 games. Bruges scudded them. 6-7 months ago we took Bruges 1-1 at Celtic Park. They were better than us first half, we were better than them second half. How have we fallen so far? But then it's acceptable to some fans that, Rangers are that bad, so we're just ahead of them, we'll keep winning in Scotland. Wake up, smell the coffee. We get embarrassed in Europe in midweek. All Scottish clubs did. Maybe Hibs, fair dues, they done well. But every other Scottish club get absolutely destroyed, and it's an indictment of where Scottish football is at right now. We have regressed. The elite level manager that we have is not an elite level manager right now, I don't believe, because if he was, he would navigate his way through Kairat. He would navigate his way through an absolute abysmal Rangers side. But yeah, we want to accept it because, it's a point away at Ibrox. Maybe it's good, we're 6 points clear. We're 6 points clear because we've managed to beat St Mirren with a deflected goal. We struggled away to Rangers. Yeah, Rangers have struggled against us, they struggled against everybody else, and we're 6 points clear because of how poor they are, rather than we're actually getting into a rhythm and into a gear. And I don't think that's acceptable with the amount of money that we fund to the club, and they don't want to spend anything. The money that comes in for Frimpong, the money that's coming in for Matt O'Reilly going to Juventus, the money that's coming in for Nicholas Kuhn, but yet we spend £3 million. £3 million is, if you take 5,000 season ticket holders, which is 54,000 that we've sold, 5,000 at an average of £600 equates to £3 million. That's what we've spent this summer. How is that acceptable? So 49,000 season tickets, times it by 600 roughly. I know there's kids in there and it's cheaper, but that equates to £29.3 million. This club are sitting on that, sitting on Frimpong's money, they're sitting on O'Reilly, they're sitting on Kuhn. £3 million Yamada comes on, and where are we right now? And I can't accept that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we're going to get it because there's only 24 hours to go in the transfer window. We're desperately trying to get a striker, we're desperately trying to get another winger. It looks like we're sort of almost overloaded in terms of numbers in the central midfield area. So we're not going to, I can't imagine us recruiting in there, but none of them are providing what you've just described. It's just a cliche now to say, well, we need a Wanyama. When did Wanyama leave? 12 years ago or something? I mean, we've not had a Wanyama since. But that's what we need. We need someone. A lot of those Rangers results last season were because we just didn't have the dig. We didn't have someone that's prepared to push someone off the ball. We didn't have someone that's just to stand up and be prepared to be physical in hard moments. And we're getting nothing out of that from Arnie Engels. I think Arnie Engels, for an £11 million investment, you can sort of give him, to some degree, not a pass in his first season, but you can certainly, it's reasonable to think that he needs to settle in. We had some nice moments out of him, he's got a lot of talent, but I thought coming into this season, which appears to be misjudged, they would kick on. We'd actually see the true flair of him. We'd actually see him be comfortable in his surroundings, and he would be pushing men off the ball because he's a physical player. But if anything, he looks like he's gone backwards. I was really disappointed with him when he came on in midweek. The one thing he can do is deliver a good dead ball. We're right under the cost to try and get into the Champions League. He had 4 or 5 dead balls to break a stalemate, and they were all really weak. He hit the first man. If he's getting a bit between his teeth and he wants to deliver, he should be getting that, swinging those balls in. We might have a better outcome. Today, I thought he was dreadful. And there comes a point in time where you need to say that doesn't look like good money well spent. Paulo Bernardo, I think, is a far more consistent performer. Is he at the level in terms of a Wanyama and the power and driving his own? No. But I think he's a bit disservice that he's just on the bench not getting any minutes at the moment. I think I would actually start to phase Paulo back into the team and see if we can up his levels a bit because he's a young man. The middle of the park is a real concern. Let's assume we address the striker problem. Let's assume we address the wide problem. There's a Bain problem in the middle of the park, and it doesn't appear that Callum McGregor's actually in the last 2 or 3 weeks shown the leadership to try and get them out of it, because that's where he deploys his trade. Now look, let's not overreact. Callum McGregor has been an incredible player for Celtic. I have no doubt when the window shuts and he gets a bit more rest through an international break that he will return to a level of form that will improve us. But he's one man. And it does leave me concerned that there's just a bit of a stalemate in terms of dynamism in the centre.
Do you know where my barometer is? Is you. You're one of the most positive, upbeat Celtic fans. I text you during the week and I told you, what away trips are you going? What did you say to me?
Not going any.
Not going any. What's that, the first time you've not went to any away games in how long? When's the last time you didn't go to an away game?
In Europe, 3 years or so.
Sums it up. Sums Celtic up right now. The fact that you're not willing to go to away games anymore because of how incompetent the board are, what they're feeding us, yet constantly we need to buy merchandise, we need to pump money into the club, season tickets, money's through the roof as it never has been before. It's unbelievable, and yet you're the one that's not willing to go anymore because you've just had enough. That tells me on its own where are Celtic at. That's where Celtic are. Celtic have failed against Kyra. You had one qualifier to navigate the easiest team you could have statistically got by rankings, and Celtic failed. 322nd they were ranked in UEFA's coefficient. Celtic have flopped, absolute flopped. Didn't concede a goal, but couldn't score one either. It tells you playing Nygren out right wing today was all that we hoped for, but yet it now shows us the scars that are in this team. We're turning to an age of 34, James Forrest, to get us out of jail. That's where we're at right now. On the 31st of August, the window shuts tomorrow at 11 o'clock tomorrow night, and Celtic are sitting there thinking that it's all rosy because across the road is in turmoil. That's not how Celtic should be run. Celtic should be run on their own basis, on can we improve to where we were last season.
I mean, it's a volatile assessment because at the moment we don't have a striker. I think, look, if we're trying to be pragmatic about how this can get solved, Celtic, I remember a few years ago, were in this sort of malaise. We signed Jan Berigor of Hesselink as a striker, Dutch international. He came in and things just transformed. It breathed life through the whole thing because all of a sudden you just see we had a number 9 with a bit of experience and a bit of quality. I think we cannot, whatever we do in the next 24, 36 hours, is sign another project. We're Celtic. We're not a development academy. At a point in time you have to say, We're going to put some quality on the park. We're going to put some belief and money behind that. Now, we're linked with this Danish striker that seems to have that. Someone that's in his prime is going to cost a reasonable amount of money, but something that the Baltics seem to be exploring. If he was to come in and hits the ground in the way that his career to date has suggested, it could be relatively transformative, right? So in 24 or 36 hours' time, we will know if that's happened. That could happen and that could make a big change. But we don't need one striker, we need two strikers. When Kyogo left, Brendan Rodgers was like anyone else with a brain, would look at the side and said he needs replaced. Since that, we've not replaced him. We've lost another one that was a record striker signing of all time. So you need two strikers. I just don't believe that they will be able to do that because they're so disorganised. Yep. But if we get that striker in, if we get a decent, experienced, reliable striker in, and we get another right winger, which will seem like more of a punt, I can't imagine they're going to have the funds to throw 10 million at a right winger that we know is going to perform. But if that right winger does perform, then look, there could be more of a way out of this in terms of having a more interesting season in terms of progression. But they've just boxed themselves into an unnecessary corner. It's ludicrous that we're sat here on the 31st of August having these desperate conversations, hoping that we'll somehow cobble together a side to compete in the Europa League. Look at Club Brugge, right? Imagine we played Club Brugge today. We wouldn't get beat 6-0. We played off the park. Club Brugge, are they in a top 5 league in Europe? No. Are they get 60,000 passionate fans? No. What if they got to offer someone incoming relative to us? Less. But what happens? They've got people in charge of the club that are progressive, understand the modern game, that are intelligent enough to use finance, and they build a team and they refresh a team in a way that allows them to get into the Champions League 7 times out of 8, allows them to get in the last 16 of the Champions League in recent seasons. That should not be Celtic's. That's not a fanciful outcome for Celtic. That should be a baseline for Celtic. And we're just so far off that level of application that it's so frustrating for the support. I'm not sure, Paul, how to answer your question accurately because only in 36 hours' time will we have a better answer. But signing a centre forward with experience is going to be the absolute pivot of getting anywhere this season.